Hey everybody, good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching this. If you're watching this, I hope that you're able to sprinkle in a little extra positivity and good throughout your day. Welcome to Tao of Tay. I'm Tay, and this is my channel where I share meditation, self-reflection, and personal stories that I've experienced to help add a little bit of clarity and balance into my life. And if there's something that resonates with you, maybe there will be a little takeaway that you can ponder throughout the rest of your day for yourself. Alright, so today we're going to be doing things just a little bit differently. Normally I'm reading from the Daily Stoic. Don't get me wrong, I love this book, but the only thing is, it's great for just opening up and reading on a random day, but in order to make videos and do this every day, honestly, it's the same message kind of over and over again, which is good because sometimes you need to hear that message over and over for you to kind of understand it and for it to maybe get through to you. But for me to make videos and do this daily, I feel like I'm just saying the same message over and over and over again. Because right now in February, we are on controlling your emotions, your passions. And I feel like I'm just kind of saying the same thing over and over again. So we're going to take a little break from the Daily Stoic. Don't worry, I still have something in store for us. I'm a big believer in tarot and oracle cards. I believe that there's magic out in the world that we can't see. I love working with oracle cards and tarot cards. It helps to just deepen your connection with yourself, your angels, your spirit guides, source, whatever you want to call it. The relationship with yourself, relationship with others, and it really helps with self-reflection. So I thought, just to kind of shake things up a little bit, we'll be doing some tarot today. So I'm going to be using, I don't know if you can see this. This is a beautiful deck from Threads of Fate. It's the Shadow Edition. It has this really nice kind of gold shimmer on it. So, it comes with a little booklet, so you can kind of see that gold shimmer. Just absolutely beautiful. And I'll kind of just show you some of the cards. You can see that gold foil on there. Let me get out of the way so you can kind of see it. But these cards are just absolutely, absolutely beautiful. So, if you're unfamiliar with oracle or tarot cards or anything like that, don't worry. It's not like a science where you totally need to have a deep understanding of it. It's something just to kind of play around with. So I'm just going to be shuffling in my hands, just kind of they say to shuffle it, put your energy into it. And when I'm shuffling, I always just kind of like to ask, sometimes out loud, sometimes within my own mind, angels, spirit guides, please surround me, show me any messages I need to see. So shuffling. Okay. And there's a bunch of different spreads that you can do. There's 3-card spreads, 1-card pull, inquiry spreads, internal landscape spreads. But I think for today we'll just do a 1-card pull. But something else feels like we need to pull another one. Okay, we can do that. All right. And I'm just going to pull the top card. Surrender. So you can see it here. We got the eye, we've got just so beautiful. Okay. So our card is surrender. We have our little booklet. Surrender. Where are you? Page 70. Okay, so surrender. We often hear the word surrender being thrown around in intentional communities, and rightfully so. This is one of the primary lessons we are on Earth to learn. It is also one of the most challenging. To surrender is to have our human nature take a back seat. This is not easy, and we can find ourselves saying, I know how I should look at this, but we struggle when it comes to actually embodying it and putting it into practice. When we are working with larger concepts, it is important to break it down. Rather than embracing surrender like a mantra, enter into a dialogue with it. What does it mean? What does it look like? If you were to surrender, how would you feel? How would you move through life? How would your heart, soul, mind, body feel? With the situation at hand, how would you engage differently? What are small things you can do daily that hold a container for surrender? Consider journaling around these questions and sit with what this card means for you and how you can integrate it. And then there's an animal, a plant medicine, and a crystal that correlate with surrender. So the polar bear. The polar bear evolved 150,000 years ago from brown bears. It migrated north, and in doing so, had to evolve in order to adapt in its new environment. Sometimes to surrender, we must shapeshift. Polar bear reigns in its ecosystem and easily survives in the harshest climate in the world because it surrendered to the environment. When we are struggling with our human nature, we need to control and invoke the spirit of the polar bear to transmute the resistance and allow it to lead you into personal evolution. Often the only thing standing in the way of our own power is our lack of willingness to see it manifested differently than we imagined. And then the plant medicine is willow. One of the most magical things about willow is that a fallen branch can regrow into a tree. It contains a growth hormone that creates rapid rooting. In fact, you can use willow in aiding other plants in growing. Willow is an ally of rooting where you are. So often we want to be elsewhere, living in a different place, doing different work. We are reaching, but sometimes we are not sure to what. It is often our resistance to our current environment that prevents us from moving on. Working with willow will allow you to root into your life, surrendering to what it is teaching you now, and in turn, holding space for new ventures and new growth. We can't get to where we want to be without being where we are. And the crystal that goes along with it is cryolite. Cryolite assists us in aligning our spiritual knowing with our logic, intelligence, and awareness. It represents a new consciousness. Oftentimes, when we are awakened to our deepest knowings, we begin to see all the things in this world that are out of alignment. We want to be of benefit to others and this earth, but can become disillusioned by all that is wrong. Cryolite's magic helps us accept where we are, allowing us to become clear on where we want to go and how we can further that work. Sit with cryolite and ask it, where do I need to surrender that will allow both personal and widespread progress? How can I hold space for this progress? So surrender. Well, I feel like we've kind of talked about that before. In, like the month of January, it was all about, letting go of control, which is our, the character defect of being a human is that we're always trying to control every single little detail of our lives. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta let go. And the beauty of that is when we let go, because we're not trying to control everything, we just allow it to organically and magically happen. And instead of thinking like, oh, I just want it to be this way in this little box, when we surrender and we let go of that control, then it plays out into this like whole bigger realm that we couldn't even imagine was possible, if that makes sense. I think I've said this before, it's like if you're trying to hold on too tight, it begins to like ooze out through your fingertips. Something that's coming up for me, like a personal experience that's just coming off of, the top of my head right now is the day that my grandmother died. So it was a Saturday. Don't get me wrong, it was very sad. But it was also one of those things where it wasn't sudden, it wasn't out of, you know, left field. Like, we all kind of knew that one day it was coming, it was getting to the end, and at that point, you know, you don't want to see that person suffer anymore, and it's more like you can see the beauty in the experience because it's like, oh, like they're just at peace now, you know. And we just, you know, I was over at my family's house. She was able to pass in her bed and the home that her and her husband had built years and years and years ago. It was such a beautiful, and again sad, but a beautiful experience. And then of course, you know, on my drive home, I was feeling like the heavy emotions and like, oh, I miss her and I won't be able to like see her again, even though I know that she's here with me and she's, you know, she's always in my heart. She's helped guiding me from another realm, but then I pull in the driveway and I had this idea I had this idea of how I wanted the rest of the night to play out. I was like, hopefully like none of my roommates will be home because I don't want to be like crying around them and making people feel uncomfortable, like whatever, that's besides the point. But I remember thinking like, oh, I want to be able to try to control the rest of the evening, how that's gonna play out. So I was thinking, when I pull in the driveway, hopefully no one's home. I'm just gonna go right to my room, maybe put on like some sad music, cry, this and that, and just kind of like wallow in my emotions, which, you know, is beneficial in some times, but sometimes the universe has a different plan for us. So again, I thought, this is how it's gonna be. And hopefully nobody tries to talk to me and I could just be alone and I could be in solitude and I can sit with my heavy emotions, this and that. And when I pulled in the driveway, one of my roommates is home. And then there was a car that I was like, oh, this is unfamiliar. I don't know this car. And I get in, you know, my eyes are all puffy from crying all day and my glasses are, I mean, they're already destructed, but they were all smudged and like they fall off my face. So I couldn't even see a thing. And when I walked in, I was like, oh my God, my roommate has like a girl over, like a date or just hanging out with friends or like whatever it is. And I already felt like, oh, I'm creating this story in my mind, but I have no idea what's actually going on. But that's just the human nature, is to control. And since it's unknown, my mind's like, oh, we're gonna try to control the story here and create the story. And of course I went into like the lower vibrational self and I went into my ego and I was getting all, you know, heated inside, like, how dare my roommate have a friend over in his own house that he owns? Like, it's just one of those kind of control things. And so I like stomp off to my room and I'm just like, you know, going totally into that victim energy and I'm, you know, thinking like, oh, why can't they just, like, this isn't a good time, they just need to leave. I just want to cry, but I don't want to like make it awkward for them. And so some time goes by, I took a shower, I blasted some music, I'm singing, I'm crying in the shower. I had that full on like movie moment where I'm like sitting in the shower with like my knees like, you know, hiked up and I'm holding myself and I'm like rocking back and forth and I'm crying as the water is just like hitting me. It felt very cathartic. It felt very releasing, and that's, you know, that's just what I needed to do. And then once I got out, once I kind of was able to have that like release, I got in my room and I'm like, I kind of had like a, you know, that bitch energy when I came through. I didn't really say hi. Also because I knew that if I said hi and if anybody had asked how I was doing, I would have just broken down in that moment. And I was like trying to keep myself, you know, together. Again, controlling instead of just letting myself melt, because it's okay to let yourself fall apart when you're grieving. That's totally, totally okay. That's the more natural thing to do, instead of like, yep, no, I'm fine, and just like tough through it. And again, I was getting all like, how dare they? How dare they be having a good time out there laughing when it's like, I need everyone to be grieving with me. And instead of allowing that control, trying to control that situation, something just came to me. Maybe it was my grandma, maybe it was my angels, my spirit guides, and they were just like, you need to girl, you need to let go. And you need to go out there and you need to introduce yourself, and you need to just, you know, have a little bit more kindness and compassion and whatever. And so with that, I was able to, you know, gather myself up. I went out into the kitchen. They were playing a card game at the table, and then I realized, oh, this isn't just a random person. This is somebody that I've met a couple times, and she's great. And you know, instead of secluding myself to my room and just wallowing in it, and it's okay if I did need to do that, but again, it was just like the universe had a different plan for me, and it was actually what I really, really needed in that moment, was to be with friends and to take my mind off of my emotion, the heavy emotions and my feelings, for just a second, because I had been in them all day, and it wasn't going to do me any much better. It wasn't going to do me any more. It wasn't going to serve me to just really, really deep dive into it. And again, it was like the universe was like, you know what? You've had a day, and you just kind of need a little bit of play. You need some playfulness. And I had such a great night. Again, instead of like secluding myself to my room and going into that like victim energy, I was able to surrender into the moment, to fucking let go. And I was able to have a great night. I had this beautiful day. Again, sad, very sad. But I was able to be there for my family in the moment. I was able to, you know, say goodbye to my grandma. And it really was beautiful. And we did like a little ritual for her, and, you know, said prayers and blessings, and it really was spiritual and beautiful. And I was able to kind of keep that lightness and into the rest of the night, instead of like, woe is me, and like making it about myself, like my grandma's gone. I was able to, again, have some playfulness. But that wouldn't have happened if I just shut them out and just stayed in my room. It was like something was telling me, like, you need to go out there. Something kept pushing me out there. You know, I kept throwing away stuff in the kitchen garbage instead of like my room garbage. It was like something just kept leading me out there. And I feel like, yeah, if I wasn't able to like surrender and let go in that moment, I wouldn't have bonded with them. I wouldn't have had such a great night and had that lightness and that playfulness that is what I truly needed in the moment. I didn't think it was, because we have this idea of grief of like, oh, I need to just constantly be sad and angry and this and that, when it's like, no, what I needed in the moment was to be playful, to be surrounded by two friends, and just have a good night. And I'm really, really grateful for that. And so, you know, let's ask those questions again for you, so that maybe this is going to be like a takeaway for you, something that you can ponder throughout the rest of the day and see what comes up for you. So, ooh, there's a little fly. Okay, so surrender, what does it mean? What does it look like? If you were to surrender, how would it feel? It feels very freeing. It feels very liberating. Very hard to do, but it is very liberating feeling. How would you move through life? Probably more graceful. Instead of being so rigid and controlling. How would your heart, soul, mind, body feel? With the situation at hand, how would you engage differently? Probably more compassionate, more understanding, more open, more loving. What are small things you can do daily that hold a container for surrender? Consider journaling around these questions and sit with what this card means for you and how you can integrate it. Yeah, so where are we at? Oh, this is a long video. So it felt good to try something new instead of me being like, oh no, I have to keep going with this book. And we'll return every now and then to this book, and I'll integrate and I'll introduce a couple new meditation books. We'll just be trying little things here and there. But yeah, I was able to surrender into the moment, do something new, and I think that this little moment was beautiful, and I hope that you did too. So thank you so much for sharing your time, your energy with me today. I am truly appreciative and grateful. And what's something that you can let go of and surrender into today? Ask yourself that. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.